The dorm room door slammed shut, and Emma's heart stopped as Riley's wide blue eyes locked onto her, bare skin glowing under the harsh fluorescent light. She stood frozen, towel clutched too late, her vulnerability exposed in a way that felt like the world had cracked open. This wasn't just about being caught naked, it was the moment everything they'd never said was laid bare. Emma Carter, a 20-year-old sophomore at Whitman College in Washington, had always been the careful one. She was the girl who planned her outfits a week in advance, who kept her lecture notes color-coded, and who never let anyone see her without her guard up. Her chestnut hair was always neatly tucked behind her ears, and her hazel eyes carried a quiet intensity, like she was constantly solving a puzzle no one else could see. She'd grown up in a small, conservative town in Oregon, where feelings like the ones she buried deep were whispered about in church pews as sins. Moving to Whitman had been her escape, a chance to breathe, but even here she kept her heart locked tight. Riley Morgan, her roommate and best friend, was her opposite in every way. At 20, Riley was a whirlwind of confidence and chaos, with short black hair that always looked like she just rolled out of bed and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see through people. She was studying environmental science, always in flannel shirts with rolled-up sleeves, her laugh loud enough to fill a room. Riley came from Seattle, raised by parents who marched in pride parades, and taught her to wear her truth like a badge. She was unapologetic, bold, and the one person who could make Emma laugh until her sides ached. They'd met during freshman orientation, bonded over a shared love of indie music and late-night diner runs. By sophomore year they were inseparable, sharing a cramped dorm room filled with fairy lights, mismatched furniture, and a corkboard plastered with Polaroids of their adventures. But beneath their easy friendship, something simmered, something Emma refused to name, even to herself. That evening Emma had been rushing. She'd just showered, her hair dripping onto the hardwood floor, and was reaching for her towel when Riley burst through the door, back early from a study group. Emma yelped, grabbing the towel, but it was too late. Riley's eyes widened, her usual smirk replaced by something softer, something that made Emma's stomach twist. "Oh shit, Em, I'm sorry." Riley stammered, but she didn't look away immediately, and that moment stretched, heavy with meaning neither could articulate. Emma's cheeks burned as she wrapped the towel around herself, muttering, "It's fine, just knock next time, okay?" But it wasn't fine. The air felt charged, like the space between them had become a live wire. Riley nodded, her gaze lingering a second too long before she turned to her desk, pretending to rummage through papers. Emma dressed quickly, her hands shaking, her mind racing. Why did Riley's look feel like it saw more than just her body? Why did it make her heart pound in a way that wasn't just embarrassment? Over the next few days, the incident hung between them like a ghost. Emma caught herself overanalyzing every glance, every brush of Riley's arm when they passed the coffee pot. Riley, usually so open, seemed quieter, her jokes less frequent. Emma wondered if she'd imagined the spark in Riley's eyes, or worse, if she'd wanted to see it. She'd spent years pushing down her feelings, telling herself they were wrong, that Riley was just a friend. But now the walls she'd built were cracking. One night, unable to sleep, Emma sat on her bed, staring at the Polaroids on their corkboard. One caught her eye. Her and Riley at a campus bonfire, Riley's arms slung around her shoulders, both of them laughing. Emma's chest ached. She wanted to be brave like Riley, to say what she felt, but fear clung to her like damp clothes. What if she was wrong? What if she ruined everything? Riley stirred in her bed across the room, her voice soft in the dark. "Em, you okay? You're staring at that board like it's gonna tell you the meaning of life." Emma laughed, but it came out shaky. "Just thinking," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Riley sat up, her silhouette sharp against the moonlight. "About what?" she asked, and there was something in her tone, hope, maybe, that made Emma's breath catch. "I don't know," Emma lied, her heart pounding. "Just us." The word hung there, fragile and dangerous. Riley didn't respond right away, but she climbed out of bed and sat next to Emma, their knees brushing. The silence was deafening, filled with all the things they hadn't said. Emma wanted to run, to hide, but Riley's presence anchored her. "Em," Riley said finally, her voice low, "that day, when I walked in on you, I didn't mean to make you feel exposed. But I saw you. Like really saw you. And I can't stop thinking about it." Emma's pulse raced. She wanted to ask what that meant, but fear choked her words. Instead, she looked at Riley, her blue eyes glowing in the dim light, and for the first time, Emma let herself wonder what it would be like to lean in, to close the distance. The moment passed, but it left a mark. Emma knew something had shifted, a door creaking open that she wasn't sure she could close. As they sat there, the dorm quiet except for the hum of the heater, Emma felt the weight of her own silence. She wasn't ready to speak, not yet, but Riley's words echoed in her mind, a promise of something more if only she could be brave enough to reach for it. The next morning, Emma woke to the smell of coffee and Riley's off-key humming. It was a familiar routine, but today it felt like a tightrope walk. She couldn't shake Riley's words from the night before. I saw you, and I can't stop thinking about it. Emma pulled on a sweater, avoiding Riley's gaze as she grabbed her mug. You're up early, she said, trying to sound normal. Riley grinned, pouring coffee. Couldn't sleep. Figured I'd make myself useful. Her tone was light, but her eyes searched Emma's, like she was waiting for something. Emma's stomach flipped. She wanted to ask what Riley meant, to demand clarity, but the words stuck in her throat. Classes dragged that day. Emma sat through her literature lecture, her pen doodling hearts in the margins of her notebook, her mind replaying Riley's voice. She'd always known she felt something for Riley, something bigger than friendship, but she'd buried it under layers of denial. Growing up, she'd heard her parents' hushed arguments about those kinds of people, their disapproval a heavy weight. Whitman was supposed to be her fresh start, but fear followed her like a shadow. By afternoon, Emma was restless. She skipped her last class and wandered to the campus lake, where she and Riley often hung out. The water was still, reflecting the gray autumn sky. She sat on a bench, pulling her knees to her chest, and let herself think about Riley, really think. The way Riley's laugh made her feel warm, the way her touch lingered, the way her confidence made Emma want to be braver. It wasn't just attraction. It was something deeper, something that scared her as much as it thrilled her. Riley found her there an hour later, her boots crunching on the gravel. Thought I'd find you here, she said, sitting beside Emma. Her flannel shirt brushed Emma's arm, and the contact sent a shiver through her. You okay? You've been weird since. Riley trailed off, but Emma knew she meant the incident in the dorm. I'm fine, Emma said too quickly, then sighed. No, I'm not. I don't know what's going on, I'm confused. Her voice cracked, and she hated how vulnerable she sounded. Riley tilted her head, her expression soft but intense. Confused about what? She asked, her voice gentle but pressing. Emma's heart pounded. She wanted to say it, to admit the feeling she'd locked away, but the words felt like glass in her mouth. Instead she said, you, me, us. Riley's breath hitched, and for a moment neither spoke. The lake lapped at the shore, the only sound in the silence. Riley reached for Emma's hand, her fingers warm and steady. I've been trying to figure out how to say this for months, she said, her voice low. I like you. Like really like you. And not just as my best friend. The confession hung between them, raw and electric. Emma's chest tightened, a mix of fear and relief flooding her. She wanted to say it back, to tell Riley she felt the same, but the weight of her upbringing pressed down, whispering that this was wrong. I don't know what to say, Emma stammered, pulling her hand back. Riley's face fell, but she nodded, her jaw tight. It's okay, she said, though her voice was strained. I just needed you to know. She stood, shoving her hands in her pockets, and walked away, leaving Emma alone by the lake, her heart in knots. That night, the dorm was suffocating. Riley stayed out late, and Emma lay awake replaying the conversation. She hated herself for freezing, for letting fear win. She thought of her parents, their disapproval, and how it had shaped her into someone who hid her truth. But she also thought of Riley, her laugh, her courage, her unwavering acceptance. Emma wanted to be that brave, to choose herself for once. The next day, Emma found Riley at the campus coffee shop, her head bent over a textbook. Emma's hand shook as she approached, but she forced herself to speak. Can we talk? Riley looked up, her expression guarded but hopeful. They stepped outside, the crisp air biting at their skin. I'm sorry about yesterday, Emma said, her voice trembling. I freaked out. I've never let myself feel this way before. But I do. I like you, Riley. More than I've ever liked anyone. The words spilled out, clumsy but true, and Emma felt lighter, like she'd shed a weight she'd carried for years. Riley's eyes softened, a slow smile spreading across her face. "You mean it?" she asked, stepping closer. Emma nodded, her throat tight. Riley reached out, brushing a strand of hair from Emma's face, her touch gentle but electric. "Then we'll figure it out together," Riley said, and for the first time Emma believed her. The weeks that followed were a blur of tentative steps and stolen moments. Emma and Riley navigated their new reality with the caution of people crossing a frozen lake, afraid the ice might crack. But every touch, every shared glance, felt like a spark igniting something unstoppable. They started small, holding hands under the table at the diner, sharing a blanket during movie nights in their dorm. Emma was still learning to quiet the voice in her head that screamed she was wrong, but Riley's presence made it easier. One night, as they lay on Emma's bed, Riley traced circles on her palm, her voice soft. "You don't have to have it all figured out, Em. Just be here with me." Emma nodded, her heart full, and let herself lean into Riley, their shoulders pressed together. But the world wasn't their dorm room. Whitman was progressive, but not everyone was kind. Emma noticed the sideways glances from classmates, the whispers when she and Riley walked hand in hand across campus. One afternoon, a guy from her lit class, Jake, cornered her after lecture. "So you and Riley, huh? Didn't peg you for that type," he said, his tone dripping with judgment. Emma's face burned, but she squared her shoulders. "I'm not your type to peg," she shot back, walking away before he could respond. The encounter left her shaken, but Riley's proud grin when she told her later made it worth it. The real test came when Emma's parents announced a visit. The thought of them in her dorm, where she and Riley had built their fragile new world, made Emma's stomach churn. She hadn't told them about Riley, not as her girlfriend, not even as a possibility. Her parents were devout, their beliefs rigid, and Emma knew they'd see her love as a betrayal. The night before their visit, Emma paced the dorm, her anxiety a living thing. Riley watched from her bed, her expression calm but concerned. "Em, you don't have to tell them anything you're not ready for," she said. "But you don't have to hide me either." Emma stopped, her eyes stinging. "I want to be brave like you," she whispered. Riley crossed the room, pulling her into a hug. "You are brave," she said fiercely. "You're here with me. That's enough for now." The visit was tense. Emma's parents, Linda and Tom, were polite but distant, their smiles tight as they toured the dorm. Riley was her usual charming self, but Emma could feel her mother's scrutiny, the way her eyes lingered on the Polaroids, on the way Riley's hand brushed Emma's when passing her a glass. At dinner, Linda asked pointedly, "So, Emma, any boys we should know about?" The question was a knife, and Emma froze, her fork clattering against her plate. Riley stepped in, her voice light but firm. "Emma's too busy acing her classes to worry about boys." The deflection worked, but Emma's heart sank. She wanted to tell them, to claim Riley in front of the world, but fear held her back. When her parents left, Emma collapsed onto her bed, tears streaming down her face. Riley sat beside her, silent but steady, her hand resting on Emma's back. "I'm sorry," Emma choked out. "I couldn't do it." Riley shook her head, her eyes fierce. "Don't apologize. This is your journey, Em. I'm here no matter what." Emma turned, burying her face in Riley's shoulder, and let herself cry, not just for her fear, but for the love she was starting to believe she deserved. As winter break approached, Emma faced a choice. Go home to Oregon, where she'd have to hide who she was, or stay on campus with Riley. The decision felt like a crossroads, one that would define her. She chose Riley, telling her parents she had a research project. It was a lie, but it felt like the step toward claiming her life. Winter break was a revelation. With campus nearly empty, Emma and Riley had the dorm to themselves, a bubble where they could be unapologetically together. They spent days exploring the town, bundled in scarves and coats, their breath visible in the cold air. They kissed in the back of a bookstore, hidden by stacks of poetry, and laughed until they couldn't breathe when they tried to ice skate on the frozen lake, falling in a tangle of limbs. But the bubble couldn't last. Emma's parents called, their voices sharp with suspicion. "Why didn't you come home?" her mother asked. Emma mumbled about schoolwork, but the guilt gnawed at her. She was living a truth she loved, but it came at the cost of lying to the people who'd raised her. Riley sensed her turmoil. One night as they sat by the dorm's fireplace, Riley took Emma's hands. "You don't have to choose between them and me," she said. "But you do have to choose yourself." The words hit Emma like a wave. She'd spent so long trying to please everyone else, her parents, her church, her town, that she'd forgotten what it meant to choose her own happiness. The new semester brought new challenges. Emma and Riley were out now, at least on campus, and while most friends were supportive, not everyone was. A professor made a snide comment about distractions when they held hands in class, and anonymous notes appeared under their dorm door, calling them names Emma couldn't bear to repeat. Each one was a blow, but Riley's strength kept her grounded. "They don't get to define us," Riley said, tearing up one of the notes. "We do." Emma started therapy, a suggestion from Riley, who'd been going since high school. The sessions were hard, peeling back layers of shame and fear, but they helped Emma see herself clearly. She wasn't broken. She was just human, learning to love in a world that didn't always make it easy. One night they attended a campus pride event, a rainbow-lit dance in the student union. Emma hesitated at the door, her old fears resurfacing, but Riley squeezed her hand. "You've got this," she whispered. Inside, the room was alive with color and music, people of all identities dancing and laughing. Emma felt a weight lift. She pulled Riley onto the dance floor, their bodies moving together, and for the first time she felt free. But freedom came with a cost. Emma's parents found out through a family friend who'd seen her at the event. They called, their voices cold. "Is it true?" her mother asked. "Are you with that girl?" Emma's heart pounded, but she took a breath, Riley's hand in hers. "Yes," she said simply. "Her name is Riley and I love her." The line went silent, then her father spoke, his voice heavy. "We need time." They hung up and Emma broke down, Riley holding her through the sobs. It hurt, but it also felt like release, like she'd finally claimed her truth, no matter the consequences. Spring came and with it a fragile hope. Emma and Riley grew stronger, their love a quiet rebellion against the world's judgment. They built a life together, study dates in the library, late-night talks about their dreams, plans for a future where they could be themselves without fear. Emma's parents didn't call again, but she wrote them a letter, pouring out her heart. She told them about Riley, about the joy she'd found, about the person she was becoming. She didn't know if they'd read it, but it was enough to send it, to know she'd tried. On the last day of the semester, Emma and Riley stood by the lake, the same place where Riley had confessed her feelings months before. The water sparkled under the sun, and Emma felt a peace she hadn't known was possible. "I was so scared," she said, her voice steady, "but loving you, it's the bravest thing I've ever done." Riley smiled, her eyes bright with tears. "You're my home, Em," she said, pulling her close. They kissed, the world falling away, and Emma knew this was only the beginning. They'd face more challenges, family, society, their own doubts, but together, they were unstoppable. As they walked back to the dorm hand in hand, Emma realized the moment Riley had seen her naked wasn't just about vulnerability. It was about being seen, truly seen, for who she was. And in that seeing, she'd found the courage to love, not just Riley but herself. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Emma wasn't afraid. She was ready to write her own story, one where love wasn't a sin but a salvation. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.